Hello, and welcome to the Radiant Mission Podcast. My name is Rebecca Twomey, and I'm here with my amazing co-host and sister, Rachel Smith.
Hello.
We are on a mission to encourage and inspire others as they navigate through this wild life and with your relationship with Christ. We are a faith-based podcast, and so we're approaching issues from a biblical lens. We have had a few mini-series so far, mini-series so far.
Mini-series.
Mini-series. We talked about spiritual warfare, and we did one on birth and on all the rest of the stuff related to birth, and we've been talking about medical stuff. And then we had some special episodes over the holidays, and I would consider today to be another special episode. In some ways, we could probably group this into medical too, because I'm sure we'll talk about some of that type of stuff. But today's a little something different. We are calling this the Life Updates episode or something like that, right?
The life and times of Rebecca and Rachel.
Yeah, we know how much you guys, just want to know what's going on with us. We know you're just sitting around wondering what is happening with Rachel and Rebecca. No, I'm just kidding. We're not the Kardashians, and we're not YouTube stars or anything like that. But we are real people, and we have real lives, and we're wives and moms and people that are just living this wild life here on earth. And with everything going on, with Rachel's move and my post-holiday coma, it wasn't really a coma. It was more like sickness, if you can still hear it in it was a coma from that perspective, because I had a cold over the holidays. We just figured it would be fun to dive into the realness of real life. Maybe that's what we should call it, the realness of real life.
Yeah.
But most importantly, I have a teaser for you guys, because there's a huge announcement. Huge announcement that we're going to make on this episode. And I'm not going to tell you what it is now, because I want you to listen.
You have to listen to all of our life problems first.
Listen to all of our gabbing. And I'm not even going to tell you where I'm going to put it. Maybe I won't even put it at the end. Maybe I'll just put it in the middle, 3/4 of the way through. I don't know. We'll see how long I could make it without spilling this announcement. And it's not a lame announcement. Like, I'm not getting a dog or anything like that. Not that that's lame, but
well, you just said it is.
Before I had kids, that would have been a huge announcement that I got a dog. But life changes, as you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there's going to be a huge announcement. So I'm going to drag it out.
Sounds good. I wonder what it's going to be.
I wonder. So, how was your move? Oh, yeah. Wait, before we get started, and before you answer that question, I don't know if we've told our listeners the joke that your husband makes, that when we first started the podcast, that he said it was like listening to Gilmore Girls. So that's like what today's episode is going to be.
Especially because he said he listens to it at like 1.5 speed or something when he listens. So it really sounds like the Gilmore Girls, because it sounds like we're talking faster.
Yeah. So here you guys go. This is a true Gilmore Girls.
I think his words were, we were like the Christian Gilmore Girls, though.
Well, that's nice. I mean, I haven't watched Gilmore Girls in 15 years, so I really don't even know what it's like.
You haven't?
When do I have time to watch Gilmore Girls?
I don't know. You watch like My 500-Pound Life or whatever. Or 90 Day Fiance. So
no. Right now we're watching Kids Baking Championship. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And I watch it at 6 p.m. with my 3-year-old. So I don't.
All I will say about Gilmore Girls though, and rewatching it as an adult, is it hits totally different. Last year, I went to watch it again from the beginning. And in the first episode, Lorelai is 33 with a 15-year-old daughter.
Oh man.
And I was 33 last year. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I am now the age of the mother of the show. And I'm not like the teenagers. So in a
Isn't it
way,
weird
like,
when that happens?
yeah, like I would find myself like trying to relate more to her, but you really can't relate to her because she's so immature and like such a wackadoodle. And like Rory is the responsible one. That's kind of the whole point of the show. But
Yeah, yeah.
it's very different watching as a grown woman.
I bet. All right, maybe I'll rewatch it. I don't know. If I can find some time, we'll see. So, returning to the question,
Right.
how was your move? It only took
Yeah.
you like 3 days.
Yeah, we said at the end of last episode that I would probably be in my new house by the new year, and I am.
Here you are. You're in your new room.
Yeah.
Is this your podcasting room? We're gonna be permanent?
Yes, it will be. Yeah. And it's just going to be a blank wall behind me because I'm not decorating.
Yeah,
Because
right.
we'll just move again one day.
Yeah, Rachel has it set that she's not gonna put any decor on the walls because then she'll have to take it down again.
Yeah,
And I'm
because
trying to convince her to use command strips to just stick everything on there.
the problem is it's not even about like hanging like with nails. It's that Chris and I counted. We moved to Texas 3.5 years ago, and this was our 5th time moving in 3.5 years. So and I decorated every single apartment and house that I was in. So that is putting something up on the wall and then taking it down and wrapping it and putting it into a box and moving that box to another location and then taking it out of the box and unwrapping it and putting it up on another wall 5 times. And I'm sick of it. And so this time, as I packed, I was like, okay, some like wall hangings, I'm going to just pack away in boxes and like store it in the garage here. I have so many boxes of decor. I was like cursing myself by the end of packing this time. I
Also, you should mention that you started with packing your decor. I've
Yes,
never heard of
I
this in my
always
life.
start with it. I
Like
always
you
start with it.
started with it.
Yes, I always start with it because it's the easiest to pack and that you're not going to need it. Like I always start with decor, and the last thing I pack is kitchen. Trust me, I'm a pro. I've done this like 35 times.
Trust me, I know what you don't need. It's this. My favorite text I got from you was when you said it's like a Hobby Lobby warehouse in here.
Yes, I could fill a Hobby Lobby with the amount of decor I have. It's ridiculous. So we'll see how far I get on that commitment to not decorate. I mean, I'm not saying
Yeah.
I'm not going to decorate at all. Like I probably will do some command strips of like big things, but
Yeah.
um
Well, this is a good first topic because I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this idea of, first of all, the frustrations of moving. And anybody that's moving right now, I'm sure is feeling this, that there's just so much that goes along with packing, but then unpacking because you get to the new place and you have to
oh
unpack.
yeah.
And it can take, yours is not even a permanent solution. Even if it is somewhere that you're going to settle for a long time, it can take years to unpack
Yeah.
boxes. I mean, we had boxes in our garage for like 2 years that it took for us to finally finish the unpacking process. And you learn every time you move how much extra junk you have that you don't need.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I'm going through a weird thing right now. I don't know why. And Mike is feeling it too, but both of us are wanting to declutter so much. Like we both just are like, we want to just throw everything away. Obviously, that's very extreme, but we're feeling that like urge to purge, so to speak, when it comes to stuff. Our drawers are full of junk. I look at the drawers that are in my bathroom and I have literally empty boxes in there from skincare that I opened and used the skincare, but I kept the box. What am I gonna do with the box? Why did I put it back in the
I
drawer?
literally had that same thing that I just threw them away as I was packing to move. As I had a drawer full of empty skincare boxes. So I don't know.
Why do we do that? Or is this just like our hoarder nature that we just have to hang on to these boxes?
I think if I remember correctly, sometimes I think it's like if in the back of my mind I don't like it, maybe I'll return it, but then I never do. I just use the product and then the box sits there for
See, mine are not that because it's repeat purchases of stuff that I've
yeah.
used before and I like, and I know I'm not going to return it because I ordered it via the mail from a regular store, like Agent Nator, for example, were some
Right.
of the boxes. I'm not going to return something
Yeah,
there.
there's no returning that.
You
Yeah,
got it.
it really doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. I don't get it. So it's stuff like that. There are a lot of decluttering challenges out there. Actually, one of my neighbors does it all the time where she'll do like a 30-day. And I tried to do it with her last year, but it was just too overwhelming for me because every day, even if it's 15 or 20 minutes, for whatever reason, I find it hard to follow whatever the structure is. For example, to be like, take 15 or 20 minutes to clean out your nightstand. That is not going to take me 15 minutes. That's going to take me like 2 hours. I got to go through. Do you have any
I
idea the amount
know.
of stuff that is in my nightstand that I have to actually go through? And then I quit because it gets too overwhelming. So,
This is why I said to you when you texted me today that you were in like feeling very overwhelmed by your clutter, that you just gotta move. Because when you move, you have to. Although I have over the years gotten lazy with like cleaning out some drawer. Like this past move, I did not go through my nightstand because they just tape it up and move whatever's inside there. Like you don't have to, unless you're moving
yeah.
states, you really don't have to empty things out completely. It's not.
One
Or
time
I
I
guess
taped up my nightstands when I moved, and then when I got to the other side and untaped it, all the paint ripped off of my nightstand. So I don't do that anymore.
yeah, that could happen too. But yeah, with me moving like every year of my life for my entire life, which by the way, Chris and I counted, and we have been together for like 14 years, I think. We've been married for 10, and this was our 10th move together. 10 times we've done this together. And this was the first time
Professionals.
he helped me pack, I think.
This was the
Normally,
first time he helped you pack?
I think so. Like, I think in the past, maybe he's helped like a little bit, like with a box or two, but
Yeah.
this time, so he had off work the last week, um, before New Year's. Like a lot of people had off the whole week,
Yeah.
but his company did that, which was great. And like originally, before we knew we were going to be doing this, we were like, we should take a family vacation or
Yeah.
and then instead it was just that's why we moved last week, was because he had the whole week off and he packed a lot. Like I've never in my 10 years
Which
being
is
married to him experienced that.
shocking to me because his strategy was not to pack anything. Chris's strategy was to take all of the stuff from one room and drive it over there every
Yeah.
day. And
That's
then
what
he did end up packing. I'm very proud.
yeah, he says that. But in reality, it's impractical because this is like 35 minutes away. Like you can't just do that.
It
And
works when
also,
you guys lived in the same vicinity. That one time that you guys moved and you were literally moving from one apartment to another
right.
apartment, that works. But
That
35
one,
minutes each
yeah.
way is far.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it
A
is.
lot of
So
trips. You get tired after this
we still
first
have
one.
some stuff left at our old house because we don't close on it till next week. And I was over there today and oh, he managed the movers on our like official, our big moving day because we are no longer in our 20s and we hire movers. It's like once you're out of
Good.
your 20s, you don't ask your friends anymore. You just hire people. Which is so expensive. It's like, oh my gosh. This is why people ask their friends. Um, but when you have kids and stuff, it's just it takes so much longer. If like movers, they get it done quick. They get it done in like 6 hours, 5 hours maybe.
We didn't hire movers for our last move to move us since we were moving from Connecticut to Tennessee, and that was very far. We hired people to load and unload, and then we drove
Yeah,
the truck, which
we've
is
done that
another way to
before.
do it because it only costs a couple $100 to
Yes.
load to pay someone to load and unload. And then you're paying, arm and a leg to rent the truck because you're
Right.
driving it so far. But you still, if you're doing a far move, you still save money doing it that way.
Yeah, we've
But then
done
you're driving a big U-Haul.
yeah, we've done that before too, because with also like hiring a moving company when it's like local, m- even U-Hauls themselves or, whatever company you pick, they're
Mhm,
so expensive these days. And then to hire people to help you, like
mhm.
it kind of just works out to hire a company that they have they show up with the truck and the guys and they put it
And they
all
just
in,
put it all in, they
drive
drive it over
over.
there and empty it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then empty it. And we actually used the same company that we used the last time we moved, which was only a little over a year ago.
Which was
And
only
they
10 minutes ago.
and they remembered us and our stuff.
Did they really? It was the same exact people that moved the
But
stuff?
one of them was, only one guy was.
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, he remembered us. Um,
He's like,
so
I've moved this mirror before or
yeah,
whatever.
which it was so crazy because this time, so back to what I was saying about we have to go back to there's still stuff at the house. So this has been our routine since we've had kids is we hire people. I take the kids and get them out of the way while Chris manages the movers because you
Mhm.
really someone has to be there, especially
Yeah.
once they're bringing the stuff in because you got to tell them, oh, that goes in this room or that room or
Mhm.
whatever.
Mhm.
And also he needed to be getting stuff done too because our house was still like, you have to take beds apart, and he was going to move some stuff in our van, and the truck was it was pouring down on moving day. It was pouring rain. So they couldn't get most of the stuff from our shed because it's far from the house. And
Mhm.
so he's like, I'll come back for that and I'll do that. And then there were so many just little things that weren't packed that he was just supposed to get and put in the van, like my squatty potty. And I don't know.
How could you forget your
Yeah,
squatty
thank
potty?
you.
How
It's
could you?
If you don't know what a squatty potty is, it's a stool that goes around your toilet that you use to go to the bathroom. And all I can say is once you go squatty potty, you never go back. Like you can't live without one. I
Yeah,
literally can't live without it.
definitely. And maybe we should become affiliates for Squatty Potty.
Yes.
Call
Yeah.
us
Please
Squatty
sponsor
Potty.
us.
Please sponsor this podcast because we really support you.
Yeah.
We got one to try and we had it in our bathroom downstairs. And we just liked it so much that we're like, we need this in our bathroom. But then
Yeah.
now when we're downstairs, it's like, so we're just gonna have to get them for all the bathrooms, I think.
That's what I'm thinking about doing now because I only ever liked using my bathroom because that's what the squatty potty is.
Hmm.
And because it's big, it's like a big stool. Like I wasn't gonna pack.
They have different
Yeah, they do have
ones, but that
collapsible
one
ones.
is my favorite.
Yeah, I like it's also like $25. It's just
Hmm.
white plastic.
I'll put a
But
link in the show notes.
yeah, you can look up what it's for and the reasons people love them because I'm not going to go into that detail. But I can't live without it. But it's big, so like you're not going to put that in a box, or I wasn't anyway.
No.
Unless I was doing like an out of state move, then that's the kind of stuff you do have to box. And so that's the kind of like just little knickknacks that Chris didn't grab and put in the car. So this week I'm like, I need my squatty potty. I can't live without it. And then I was over there today, he also, all of our dirty laundry, like in our hampers, he was supposed to bring those so that we could get the laundry done. And he wasn't able to do that. And so, when you have like your favorite pants or leggings. Like they're all in
Yeah.
the dirty laundry at a different
Yeah.
house, so I don't have any of them.
Oh, you guys didn't get a washer and dryer yet?
It's not here yet.
Yeah,
It's
that's what
not
I mean.
so
So
I
you
couldn't
have to
do
do it over at the old house still
right.
until.
Yeah, I couldn't even do laundry now if I wanted to. So anyway, these are like the little things that I was gonna grab when I was over there today, and I forgot the squatty potty.
Oh
I
man.
know. So I'm like, how could I? Now I only blame myself. But it really blends in with the toilet. You like miss it.
I'm
Um,
surprised you didn't cancel this podcast recording to go over there and get it.
I don't want to drive over there. I'm gonna go over again in a few days. So I have to go so we close on our house next week. And so I think I've talked a little bit about our house. It is about 2 acres that we bought out in the country. It's like almost like middle of nowhere. It's very like remote. It's surrounded by over 120 acres of cattle pasture. It's a really beautiful area, but there's nothing around except for cows. And I had chickens. I raised them all from little baby chicks. I even hatched some of them. And we really thought we wanted to live this like homesteading rural life. I feel like that's very trendy right now on Instagram
Yeah. Or
or
maybe
social
just the people
media.
we follow.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it's that. I think since 2020, just people
That's
in
true.
general have like longed for a lifestyle like this.
Hmm.
But what I have learned over the past year, because I was one of those people that, oh, I don't want to like live in around a bunch of people, especially 2020 was so crazy. Like, I don't know these people around me. I want to get away from society. But also just having like a slower pace of life and being in nature more. And
I think there was also that scarcity of 2020 that, you can build your own sustainability when you have land. You can garden
right,
and you can have your own eggs and you
right,
can milk your own cows. And, it kind of, what you said before about it being trendy, I think that more than trendy, it's also like a fantasy
right.
in some
And
ways, because for most of us, it is a fantasy. Because if we were to actually live that lifestyle, we're so like programmed
oh
to
yeah.
society that it would really, you're breaking your mold. I'm not saying that people can't do it and people don't do it and people don't long for it and that people don't have success, but I could use myself as an example. I love the idea of it. And I love gardening. I have 10 raised beds and I do garden, but could I live off of my own food? No.
Yeah.
I don't
I've
think so. And first of all, I can't just live off of garden beds. You have to
yeah.
have animals and eggs and stuff like that. And could I do all of that? Not with a job.
Right. Yeah, and that was what I feel like I really got a firsthand experience in learning is like you said, like we are socially programmed that this like we don't have these skills.
We have to
And
learn them. And
right.
it's not that we can't and we don't, but it's a big learning curve.
Oh, it is. And when you are born into a society where everything is available and convenient and
Mhm.
inexpensive,
Mhm.
it's hard to break that mindset of, oh, I can just fall back on going to the store or,
Mhm.
it's a process. But I'll also say, I feel like, like you said, there's this like fantasy of living on like homestead and supplying your own food and taking care of your own animals and garden and all that. But throughout history, people doing this, it wasn't one single person doing this.
by
all
themselves.
by themselves.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
was our situation.
Yeah. Because
And
Chris worked far away,
right. Exactly.
far away. And it was
Exactly.
just you and 2 little kids
Right.
who really, I'm sure, were not interested in learning how to be Farmer Joe. And it was just
Yeah.
you taking care of the house and the chickens and, that
Yeah.
was
Right. Historically, people, they not only grow up from birth, like on a farm, like contributing to the family, contributing to the homestead, contributing and learning. And, it's just nature of what they are able to do, but they also are able to do it together as a family, and they have like 15 kids and or in community
yeah.
where it's a bunch of people, each person kind of supplying a different need. And
Mhm.
and so we're still so much a part of society, whether we would like to, think of us that way or not, because my husband he has to work in a major city. It's part of his career, and we are a one income household. We are dependent on his income, and that's a priority, and his career is a priority. And so I think in some ways, people can find success in this when they're doing it together as a family, and
Mhm.
they're whether they have, I don't want to say work from home jobs, because I know those are very demanding too, but these days people have like these social media incomes,
Mhm.
or multi-level marketing incomes, or whatever it is, that they're able to make $200,000 a year and just be a family full time. And I'm not like putting that down at all. Like, that's amazing. Like, if only everybody could be that way and be a
Yeah.
family full time.
Sure.
That's the real fantasy, is being a family full time. And then something like this could work, because then you have multiple adults coming together and working, caring for the animals and
I don't know. If
working.
I can make 200 grand making, TikToks, you're not gonna find me out there milking cows, I'll tell you that.
What would you be doing?
Making the TikToks. I mean, I
Well,
guess I
some
could make
people.
TikToks of milking the cow as my
Exactly.
content.
That's what I was about to say,
Uh-huh.
is that's a thing now. And then they build these big, beautiful Joanna Gaines farmhouses that
Yeah.
are like
It's a whole thing.
5,000 square feet. And yeah,
Yeah.
so all of that to say is, um, there were a lot of reasons that we decided to do that, and we really did think it was what we wanted for our life and our kids. But then once you're living in it, and Chris was commuting over an hour to work and then over an hour home every day. So he was barely around. Like, he only could see his kids and me for a few hours a day. Last year, as I've shared on the podcast before, I was having a lot of health issues, and that was really hard on me, because it was then like, we're in this opportunity for me to actually do what I have wanted to do in homestead, but I wasn't like physically or mentally able to do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I was like drowning in
Mhm.
survival.
Yeah. And
Um
you were isolated while all the
right.
during
It
this
was
too.
very isolating, because we didn't even have a grocery store. There was no, like, you you joked about when I was super sick once I got pregnant, and I literally could not cook. I couldn't even fix food. Like, my 6-year-old was bringing food, fixing food for him and his brother. And you were like, I tried to Grubhub you food and you don't have anything. I'm
I
like,
was
tell
so
me about
stressed out because you were so sick and you and the kids weren't eating and you're stuck at
it.
home
Yeah.
and you're just you couldn't do anything and I'm like, "What can I do? I will send food." And I'm on Grubhub, I went on DoorDash, I went on every single app that exists to send a person food, and nothing could deliver food to you, and I'm like, "You need to move. This is terrible. I can't send you food." Thank
But
God
this
for Paula. I was like, Paula, we got to get Rachel on that meal train. And she did it. She got you going. I
yeah.
sent you a bunch of food from Amazon, but I couldn't
Yeah.
even send you a Whole Foods order because there was no Whole Foods
No, not even any
groceries.
grocery store. Yeah. And that's what it's like, that I think sometimes we don't realize, like when we want to live outside of society, this is definitely what people want and they love it and they enjoy it. But when you're still have to be in society like we do because of my husband's job, it's hard, man. Like it's really
And it's
hard.
not like you're a survivalist, It's not
No.
like you're gonna, cut a slab off a animal and just chew on it. You're still, I don't know what the word is. You're still part of a suburban
Right.
type
I
of
don't I
culture,
don't
but
have those skills.
yeah,
Like even so the only animals I did get were, like laying hens and one
and
rooster.
cats.
And yeah, and cats. Yeah. And a lot of people will do meat chickens, which those are a different kind of chicken
Mhm,
than, I
mhm,
mean,
and laying hens.
you could eat those, but meat chickens, they are, I mean, it's kind of sad in a way, but over time, we as humans have bred certain breeds of chickens together to produce this specific meat chicken. There's a few different ones, but breeds that their breasts grow like freakishly big very fast.
Yeah, like,
So
so fast they can't even stand up because they
stand after
yeah,
6 months. Yeah. So this breed exists, and the most humane thing to do is to slaughter them or process them by the time they're 6 months old. But
mhm,
people who raise their own meat chickens, they still will get these, and they still can have, a great life in the only 6 months that they'll live in the sun and eating bugs and grass. And then the meat is so much healthier.
mhm.
And then the economical way to do it is to process it all the chickens yourself. I'm not cut out for that, man. Like not only this is what I mean when you grow up in a life like so many people these days are learning these skills,
Yeah,
teaching
yeah,
themselves, watching, learning from YouTube or whatever, and then
yeah.
just pulling their britches up and doing it themselves. And that's amazing. But the past year has taught me that I am apparently not one of those people.
So you and I both follow someone that is from a big city, lived a suburban type of life. And her husband's dream was to buy land and homestead and like live off grid, to actually really be off grid. And they
Yeah.
did it. And they did the whole chicken thing where they did the chickens and then they had someone come and teach them how to slaughter the chickens and process them. And I watched every video and I was like, nah.
Yeah,
No thanks.
Chris a few months ago. So um several of our friends who are in the area all got together. They're part of our like church community. And one of them raises cattle, and he um volunteered to donate a cow, and that everybody would pitch in financially to hire some guys to teach them to slaughter it.
Mhm.
So the same kind of thing of like,
Yeah.
and so Chris went, I was like, "You going to the cow slaughter or what?" Which was so weird. And he went because he's like, this is a skill that we need to learn. And he came back from that and he's like, I can't do that. It
I
was,
ain't cut out for this.
I will say, like, from what he said, like, he did not think that these guys and they were just like some country guys, like, I don't know where they came from, but like,
Not from your church community is what you're
they
saying.
weren't. He's like, I don't think what they did was the right way. I don't think it was humane. He's like, so it's hard because we see so many people like learning these skills and so passionate about it, and like anyone can do it. And that's true. Like if you're desperate and you're like, we're all going to die and starve to death, like unless we start providing for ourselves, like, yeah, then we can do it because we have to.
Yeah.
But it's really hard in these times that we're in, that, you know, sometimes we do look around society around us and we're like, man, this is looking like we're getting pretty close to the end here. What I will say though is when stuff hits the fan for real, like if that really is in our lifetime, the majority of us aren't ready. I know I'm not ready to like, and I'm talking about like physically survive. Like this one thing I learned this year is when stuff hits the fan, what matters most is being spiritually ready. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
probably won't make it. I'll be,
We were just
oh,
talking about this like last week, weren't we? That
yeah.
the survival, I think it started from so just so everybody knows, I do not camp. I am not a camper. I will glamp. And glamping means like in
With the
a
RV or something.
in an RV, or
Cabin.
we went camping once and I got this tent, and Mike always likes to make fun of me because I got like this huge 12-person tent so I could fit a queen air mattress in it, and I brought like regular bedding, like a, down comforter and pillows and everything. And he joked, you have like a nightstand, and I'm like, I don't have a nightstand. And I could do that for one night, but I didn't enjoy it necessarily. And I say to him, if I have to live like that because it's the end of the world, then I will deal with it when I have to deal with it. But right now, I'm not, it's not the end of the world. And so I will sleep in my own house. And so you and I were talking about how like the people that will or won't make it. And you're like, I'm not going to make it. It's the end
Um,
of the world. I won't make it.
I just don't, I mean, if you have to like live, like flee to the wilderness and be able to use what's around you for food and shelter, we are literally the dumbest generation in all of history. And I say dumb in that we have forgotten all survival skills. It was only
It's
probably,
probably intentional though. Isn't
oh
that
yeah, it's
the
absolutely
intentional
intentional.
programming of society, is to make us dependent?
We're
It's to
completely
make us
dependent on the
dependent
system.
on the system. If we're dependent on the system, just like I'm talking about myself, it's like, oh, I need this house and I need this and I need that. Technically, I don't, but I'm so programmed to live in the laps of luxury, living
Right.
on, underneath four walls, have four walls and a roof.
Right.
But I also will say, I feel like I have our mom's resilience and toughness, and that if I was put in a situation, I would do anything that I could to try to survive for my children. And I mean, I wouldn't go without a fight.
Yeah.
Do I want to do that? Not exactly.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But you're
So,
you're right that we're not, and we're lazy, our
yeah.
generation. We're very lazy. And again, we're generalizing, and I'm generalizing because there's a
Right.
lot of smart people out there. There's a lot of homesteaders and farmers and people that do have these skills, and there's a lot of people that are trying to learn the skills piece by piece. And I think that's what we can take away from this, is that yeah, sure, for us to be thrown into full-time farm life is a shock,
Yeah.
but we can learn little by little. And I think that's what you and I have been doing, that we have found beneficial for our lives, like learning about herbs and what herbs do what and what herbs heal the body.
Right.
We don't necessarily have to grow those herbs to learn. We can learn about the herb first and then go, you know what? Let me try my hand at that. And just like red raspberry leaf was my big learning moment. And then I planted red raspberry leaves, or red raspberry plant, and started to harvest my own. And so it's something small. I don't have a huge farm, but I can learn small skills over time. And I think that's what we could encourage people to do, and not try to discourage everybody from homesteading.
Right. Yeah. Cause I think that is, I went into this situation and just expected, oh, I'll get really good at gardening and I'll have a huge garden and I'll learn how to take care of chickens and all that. And to be like self-sufficient and, just start like being able to supply some of our own food.
Hmm.
Anybody can do that living anywhere. I mean, you can't have chickens everywhere. Like I can't have chickens where
Yeah.
I'm living now. But gardening, starting smaller, like gardening has such a huge learning curve and
Yeah.
it's not easy. I feel like one of the first things I learned is honestly, like if we were in like a collapsed society, like where we didn't have access to, you know, running water and electricity, gardening itself would be very, very difficult because
Yeah.
from all I learned in gardening, like I have to be watering because I'm in Texas where it literally didn't water for over 100 or water. It didn't rain for over 100 days in the summer and it was over 100 degrees. Everything just fried and died.
You also had bugs that one year.
Right. I've had bugs that like take out the entire crop. Like what I learned is there's so much like
That can go
that
wrong.
the only that goes wrong that's out of your
Yeah.
control that because of our modern conveniences we're able to control. Like I'm able to use a hose or a sprinkler,
Yeah.
or think about like germinating seeds or seed starting and all that. Like we have grow lights and we have being able to bring them inside our houses
Hmm.
and buying seeds.
Yeah. Yeah. That too. I
And
definitely, there were so many things that I've learned so far about gardening that really surprised me. I've had a lot of successes and I've also had a lot of failures. Like, I have not been able to successfully grow watermelons, and I have tried and tried,
me neither.
and they just never work out. And I have tried to troubleshoot some of these issues, but m- maybe just not the right thing for me to grow. Potatoes, I've done, and then when I take them up, I'm like, they're too small. And I just plant them again. I'm on like the fifth or sixth cycle of these same potatoes. I just keep putting them back in because
They're
they're
not
not,
getting bigger.
they're not, I don't think that they're big enough. They're not supposed to be small. So there have been a couple of things that have been failures, but then there have been things that have been success. But then I also had like a great strawberry season, not this past one, but the one before. And then this year, I barely got any, and I didn't prune it back enough. And so it's like
Yeah.
these little things that you learn as you're going through gardening. But I was so serious the second year that we gardened here. I put in watering systems in all of my beds. And because the first year I was hand watering, the second year I put these watering systems. And the second year I also, the first 2 years I seed started inside. The third year, I didn't turn the water on one time, and I did not seed start. I planted these seeds right into the ground, and it was my best year yet. I didn't water, I didn't do anything. I just put the seeds in the ground and walked away, didn't water, and everything was great. So it's almost like I tried too hard, and then the year that I didn't try. Now, I will say this past year, I also did purchase some plants that were already started. Actually, when you came after Ben was
Yeah.
born, I got a couple of plants that had, already gotten to maturity to plant, and those did great. Like I had a ton of stevia and peppers that I ended up doing nothing with,
Yeah.
giving them away. But I'm actually on my like third year of volunteer tomatoes, which is cool. I haven't planted tomatoes since the first year. Because I just let them fall at whenever they're the ones I don't pick, and they keep coming back. And that's been kind of cool is to see that because I don't have to try.
Yeah.
So it is something that I think, you can practice. And I used to have plants, vegetables on my porch, my patio. I lived on the 17th floor of an apartment building in Connecticut. And that was where I really got my start with outdoor stuff. So yeah, anybody can start anywhere.
Yeah, and I think that learning the skills starts with just practicing, and something like growing our own food or, raising our own animals for food. It can start on a small scale because the same with chickens. Like, this was my first attempt at chickens, and I learned a ton. I learned that they die if
Yeah, yeah.
you don't like, you see pictures or videos of these free range chickens and you want them to live this happy life like you're in your yard or on a pasture, but they'll be picked off one by one every single day by some kind of various predators because
Yeah.
chickens are
So many
so
of them.
dumb that
Even
everything's a
raccoons,
predator.
even
Yeah.
a raccoon
Mhm.
will literally take a chicken, and they're the worst
Rip
ones
its head
because they'll
off.
strangle it, and then they don't
Yeah.
even do anything with it.
Yeah, they don't even eat it. So, yeah, I lost 2 chickens to predators and 1 chicken to that summer heat that was so bad, and so I learned a lot about that of like, "Oh, man, I'm responsible for these animals every day, like, I need to bring them ice, I need to try to
Yeah.
cool their coop," and so it is a lot of work, a lot, but you definitely learn a lot, and I think that we can learn that these skills and have a slower pace of life even in the suburbs with the conveniences of society, if that's what someone chooses, or if they feel like they are stuck and can't get out to land and, live more remotely. But I just also kind of wanted to bring this up in that sometimes what we think is like our dream or, like you said, like fantasy, li- the reality of it is not, it doesn't go how we think it's going to go all the time.
You mean
And
that saying
that
that
was,
we make plans, God laughs, that one?
yeah. Like, I really felt like God allowed, like, this is what we wanted, and God really paved the way for us being like the circumstances we got this property. It just all went so smoothly, and I kept praying like, God, if this is what you want for us, like, let it go smoothly. If this isn't your will for us, let something stop us from buying that property. But it all worked out so smoothly, and then it ended up being one of the hardest years of our life. And our house, without getting into a lot of detail, there were just some issues with um just when it rained, it would like water was getting into the house, and that's so stressful for a homeowner. Like, anyone who owns a home knows how stressful like any kind of water intrusion is, whether it's dripping from your roof or coming through your front door or whatever. And we felt really like lost when that was happening. Like, why did we come here for it to be so stressful? And we took care of the problem. We had to take out loans to pay to be able to fix what the problem was, and we did fix the problem. And so there, we're leaving it in way better state than we got it in. But it was kind of one of those, we finally felt like we had to throw in the towel because it was like this home was never a sanctuary. It was,
Yeah.
and that ultimately, while we're on this earth, like, nowhere really ever feels like home to me. I think it's just because this isn't my home. Like,
Maybe it's because you keep moving.
well, I keep moving, I think, because it's like I have that longing inside me to like, oh, this isn't it. So we gotta move on to something else. Oh, this isn't it. But the last year in being out there, instead of it feeling like this peaceful sanctuary, it felt like being in the wilderness. Like, it felt like in some ways, I related a lot, like thinking about the story of the Israelites when they left Egypt and were in the wilderness, and they, they grumbled and complained, like, God, why did you leave us out here to die? At least in Egypt, we had food.
That was you. That was totally
Yeah,
you.
it
At least
did.
you had Grubhub when you lived in the city.
Yeah, but ultimately, when it came down to it, it really was when we found out we're pregnant after so long of trying to have a baby that we were like, "Well, we aren't the Israelites right now. If it's God's
Yeah.
will, like, we can leave this.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have to spend n in our lifetime, unless God has us somewhere, and then He's gonna have us there, and nothing is gonna change that." But He also gives us a choice on,
Absolutely.
like, do you want to be in this, or do you want to move on and see what else is out there?
Mhm.
And so for us, once we found out we were having the baby, we were like, "You know what? We really thought that this is what we wanted, but what we want is time. We want time with each other. We want time as a family.
Yeah.
And being out here, we sacrificed that."
Yeah.
And so it
Yeah.
wasn't what we wanted. And this is the hard choices we have to make. So
You're
that's
bringing
why.
you're bringing up a great point though that I think we should drive home a little bit because I know and see a lot of people that suffer in their lives living their life and it's different circumstances for different people, right? It
Mhm.
might be someone who lives in a city and is barely scraping by. They're barely making enough to live. And to that person, I would say move.
Yeah.
Move somewhere where you can afford to live your life and enjoy the life that you have and not live it in suffering. Jordan Peterson talks about this a lot
Yeah.
about how people choose to suffer when all it takes is making that tough decision, making the hard choice
Mhm.
to make a decision to move. And by move, he doesn't mean physically move, but sometimes that's what that means. But just to make a choice to do something about it, whether it's a job or a relationship or a circumstance. Ultimately, I think a lot of times as Christians, we'll say, like, well, let me wait for the Lord to tell me. But you
Mhm.
have to put yourself out there in order for the Lord to guide you. He doesn't come down with trumpets in into your room, be like, "Dun, dun, 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 I am telling you to do this, do this, do this, do this." We need to pray and follow where he guides us, but we have to be the ones to take the initiative to make
Right.
those changes happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I think, because Chris and I move so much, we tend to feel really crazy. Like, why are we like this? Like, why are we doing this? But I think that really is what it comes down to, is we are not afraid to do really hard things in hopes for to better ourselves and to better
Yeah.
our lives and to have a better situation for our children.
Mhm.
And does that mean that we get it wrong? Like, maybe we did get it wrong going out, buying that property and moving out there.
Mhm.
Maybe we did.
But it was a
But
lesson, you
right,
know?
God allowed that. And there's
Sure.
so much that we learned that it's a chapter in our life, but it doesn't mean it had to be our whole life, especially if
Yeah.
we were suffering in it. I
Mhm.
think that we can sometimes get it, like, this conception or mind of like, "Oh, I'm this is where the Lord has me, so, like, even though I'm suffering, like, he's in it with me," which is very true, but he is a good and gracious and loving father. He doesn't always want us to just suffer through our lives. He
Yeah, I mean, think about our actual father. Our actual father, if you were to tell him the issues that you had at your house, he would be like, troubleshoot, 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 troubleshoot ideas on alternatives. If you were
Yeah.
to tell your father that you were suffering, our heavenly father is the same way. He's not going to just sit there and be like, well, you made this choice, so
Live with it.
live
Yeah.
with it. But you said something before about we made this choice and he allowed it. And I think I want to clarify what you mean by that is he does not control us. We
Yeah.
are the ones that make decisions for our
Yes.
lives at the end of the day. And with certain things, we are taking a leap of faith because he has maybe convicted us to do something. And so we make a choice. But other times it's our own poor decision making for reasons why we do things that don't maybe work out for us, you know? Like
Yeah.
staying in a relationship, we could convince ourselves all day long, God wants me to do this or he wants me to stay in this. And it's like, is it really God or is it you?
Right. Yes, it's that, and it's just really true. Like sometimes I think we can mix up our voice for God's voice, and I
Mm-hmm.
know that's like always been a confusion of mine,
Mm-hmm.
but at the end of the day, he can take our poor decisions or decisions that it doesn't necessarily mean that it's always like a bad decision, but sometimes just bad things happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
other people around you are making bad choices that then affect the decision that you made
Sure.
and that then affect your life negatively.
Like when your parents move you out to the country. Just kidding.
Yes. That's
But that was
right.
an easy example.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that actually is a good point, is to like bring up my kids in this, is, in this whole fantasy of having a slower pace of life and being in nature. And my kids didn't enjoy any of that.
They're like, "We don't wanna go outside." "What do you
We
mean
went
we
to
have to go out
park.
here?
This park was
It's
like
hot
20
out."
minutes away. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's too hot outside, which it was 110 degrees all summer. So, yeah, it's, and not that like every decision we make is for our kids, but sometimes we have to decide what's best as a family. And that's
Yeah.
what it ultimately came down to, is what is best for us as a family
Mhm.
is to have more time with each other, because that's the
Yeah.
one thing we can't get back. That's the one thing, like, when this whole show is over, whether we die of old age or the Lord returns in our lifetime, or, we die tomorrow from a freak accident, the only thing that we really had is time with the people that we loved. Like
Yeah.
being able to like collect your own eggs and milk your own cows and break your own bread from wheat you grew. That's all like wonderful and that's great, but it just the same as like living in society and having, conveniences and luxuries and cars and nice house and all that. None of it matters. None of it matters. It's the people that matters. And so
Yeah.
if living out in the country can give you more time with the people you love, then that's wonderful. But for
Yeah.
some people, it's living in society that gives you the people you love. And apparently
Hey,
that's right now.
I would trade my chickens that I don't have any day for time with my husband, for
Yeah.
sure, because that's the choice that you're making ultimately is like, I can either take care of these chickens and this property, or I can spend more time with my husband. And
Right.
I that's an easy choice.
Right. And unfortunately, we didn't know that a year and a half ago. And we had to experience it. Like some people, like you said, you can know it right now. Although you guys both work from home, so you could actually like live out in the country and still have time with each other. But
Yeah, that's true, but then we would have to go outside and do work too, so I don't know about that. I do have a lot of respect for my chicken lady. I have a chicken lady who has chickens and she has a farm, and she works. She is a nurse for elderly folks and, goes and cares for them dur a couple days a week, and she runs her little farm with her husband. I don't know if he does it. I think he might do it full time, but maybe he works too, I don't know, but they're making it work over there, and that's awesome. And
yeah.
I commend her and I will buy her eggs.
I mean, our mom is a chicken lady
That's
and
true. Our mom has like 30 something chickens.
I think honestly, I would absolutely have chickens again in any setting that I lived in that wasn't an HOA, so I could have chickens, like whether that's a neighborhood in suburbs, or I would definitely do it again because they're easier than a garden. I'll tell you that.
I'm going to change the name of this episode to the chicken show because it's all about chickens.
Yeah. Well, I think I kind of got into this whole tangent just to say that we're closing on our house and I'm still going over there every few days to check on my chickens to make sure that they don't run out of food and water. And because Chris left some things there, like my squatty potty. And so we still have trips to make to get just little random things. And he'll have a lot of work this weekend to get everything out of that shed. So as much as I would have loved to just be done with all the work the day of, in my experience of moving 58 times, is it almost never goes that way. Like there's always little things that get left behind, whether it's trash or whatever.
Unless you're moving out of state and you literally can't leave
Oh
anything.
yeah, then you really gotta close up shop. Yeah, moving out of
Yeah.
state is a whole. Oh,
It's
I've done
crazy.
that twice
I
now.
could never have done it without our friends. We worked for like a month to get everything packed. And then the night before the moving truck was coming, well, we had a U-Haul, so it wasn't coming. I think Mike was picking it up. But you know what I mean? The night before we had to load, we were still packing stuff. And
Yeah.
thank the Lord for our friends and neighbors that lived in our building. They came over and helped us finish everything. And we couldn't have done it without, and we were still up until maybe 3 o'clock in the morning and then had to get up at 6 or whatever it was to go pick up the truck. And then the people came and whew, moving out of the 17th floor of a building is fun too.
Yeah. You were pregnant then also, weren't you?
I was also like 30 weeks pregnant with
Oh, you
Brooklyn.
were that pregnant?
Or
Wow.
maybe I was in my 20s. Maybe I was in the 20 weeks because it was
Mm.
in September and she was due January 1st, she was due. So I
Yeah.
had 1, 2, 3 months left,
Yeah.
maybe three and a half. I was pretty pregnant. I had a huge stomach. I remember driving because he drove the U-Haul and I drove our car with a trailer because it had our motorcycles in it and a bunch more stuff. And I had my plants in the car after these guys. And by these guys, I mean my own husband and like father-in-law and people. They were going to put my house plants in the U-Haul. I'm like, how dare you? No, these are going to go in the car with me. They need to be close to me to live. You can't put these things away in a U-Haul. Anyway, the most dramatic part of that whole trip for me literally was the plants because one of them, well, Mike dropped off of the trolley thing and the pot broke, but it was okay. It actually lived. It was my aloe plant. But another one he like crushed. And so I literally cried over the
I
plants. That was
remember you crying. I
the
remember you
only
crying
breakdown.
about
The
it.
whole move was over my
And I
plants.
was like, this is such a pregnant lady reaction.
Yeah, definitely. I was definitely upset. But I think almost everything ended up making it when we got to the other side. I repotted some things and all is well. Well, I wanted to go into a couple of other updates and we still have our big announcement.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so Rachel moved and then over the holidays, my oldest daughter turned 3 years old. It's crazy to have a 3-year-old. We decided kind of last minute because we weren't feeling good. We had talked about going to this trampoline park, but then we didn't make any formal plans. Like we didn't plan a birthday party or anything like that. My husband's parents were here, but we weren't planning anything formal. I always do this thing where I put up like a balloon arch and I make a cake and I set up all the stuff for her birthday. But the night before, we like confirmed we're definitely going to go. And I texted a couple of our friends and I literally want to give them a shout out on this podcast because I know that they tune in. thank you to Seth and Amanda and Taylor and Chris and Kelsey and Andrew, because I texted them at 9-10 o'clock at night on a Friday night, and they all showed up with their kids to jump with Brooke at 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, which was New Year's Eve. And it was just so cool. And she had such a blast. And it's just, we felt so loved and appreciated. So thank you guys for showing up for her. And she kept saying, "It's my birthday party." And then I'm like, "I didn't plan a birthday party." Yeah.
That reminds me of when Everett turned, that's my oldest, when he turned 4, he turned 4. We brought him to Chuck E. Cheese. Just like us as a family, we had just moved to Texas, so we didn't really know many people. And there were all these people there that were part of the they paid for the Chuck E. Cheese birthday package. So they were in the section with that rat, Chucky or Cheese, whatever his name is, the mascot, and like singing happy birthday. And Everett is like over in the arcade section, like watching them. And he's like, "Are they singing that to me?" I'm like, "Yeah, definitely hadn't planned a party, but no, that's great. Your friends showed up." And
yeah, it was definitely cool. And then it also made me realize that I need to start planning birthday parties.
They're a lot of work.
I didn't plan one because we did a birthday party for her when she turned 1. And I felt like she's not going to remember this.
Wait till she's 5. Do it every 5 years.
Wait till she's 5. All right. But I mean, I could get a couple of kids together.
Well, yeah.
We're going to do something anyway, because her birthday's on New Year's Eve. So it's like, you're going to go do something anyway. At least we are. Last year we went to Main Event and Mom and Dad were here. And, so we're always going to do something. But anyway, so it's kind of cool. And then Mr. Ben, he just turned 9 months the other day. And he's getting huge. And you guys know he's my home birth baby. He's the chillax, happy-go-lucky guy that is just, he's such a great baby. And he has 4 teeth now. And he's just happy guy. And so I have a funny story to share from today. Rachel hasn't heard this story. I told her I wasn't going to tell her until we were on the podcast. So I'm doing some work on the computer. I'm sitting in the living room. Brooke is playing. She's doing whatever she's doing. And Ben gets around now. He crawls everywhere. He can pull himself up to standing. And he just gets around. So he, goes over here, plays with these toys. He goes over here, chews on this. And he crawls all around downstairs. And so he went behind the couch. And, I couldn't see him, but I could hear him. And then it sounded like maybe he was getting close to the stairs, or he had gotten to the stairs, and I didn't have the gate closed. And because he hasn't gone up the stairs yet, but he's getting close. So now I need to remember to keep it closed. And so I get up to go over there to see if he was trying to go up the stairs. And I found him doing something that I did not expect. When my in-laws were just here, they were using our downstairs bathroom a lot. And Brooke has this little potty in that bathroom that she calls tiny potty because it's a little toddler potty. Well, she did not like that people would be in there with the door closed and she could not access her tiny potty. So she brought it out of the bathroom and put it in the front hallway. Well, after they left, we did not put it back in the bathroom. And Mr. Benjamin found this potty that was open and full of pee and was splashing his hands in it.
Oh my gosh.
So I walk around the couch expecting him to be by the stairs because that's what I thought I heard. But no, it was him banging and splashing the pee out of this potty. There was pee everywhere. It was all over his pajamas.
Oh my God.
He was smiling ear to ear, having the best time ever. The time of his life.
Like a water table for him.
It was like a baby water table. And I had the most graceful reaction that you could ever imagine. I see this happening and I go, and it was literally like the scene in Dumb and Dumber when Bob Saget walks into the bathroom and you know that he had chocolate in his pockets and
Yeah.
he takes them out and he wipes them on the towel and
Yeah.
it's like not coming off. So he wipes it everywhere and he wipes it all over the bathroom and it looks like poop. Except
Yeah.
he doesn't use the word poop in that movie. He uses an expletive and he's like, there's poop everywhere. It's all
Yeah.
over the walls. That was literally me with this pee today that I'm screaming like, oh my gosh. And the baby is smiling. He does not care that he was playing in pee, but I freaked out. I don't know. I shouldn't have freaked out because it's just pee. And so I'm picking him up, trying to take his pajamas off and like get him into the tub. And then, Brooke's rushing over because I'm hollering. And she's like, what is going on here? And so then I'm like trying to make sure she's not stepping in the pee because it was all over the place. So she comes over and she goes, I'll watch brother. And so he's sitting in the bottom of the bathtub while I go to get the potty to bring it in to the bathroom so I can like wash this while I wash him. And I had taken it has like a seat and then an insert. And I took the pieces out and I was carrying them. And right as I walked to the bathroom, she slams the door and the pea pot hits the door and goes everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
So then I'm screaming more that there's pee everywhere. There's pee. Don't walk. Don't walk. There's pee everywhere. And Mike hears this screaming going on. And then he's trying to call me. I don't know where my phone is, but my watch is like vibrating. And I wanted to answer so badly and be like, do you really think that this is a good time to call me? You are upstairs. You could just come down here and see what's going
Why would he
on.
come down if he hears you screaming?
I was screaming and he did not come down.
Oh my gosh.
He said because he was on a meeting and he couldn't. I'm like, what if something serious was going on? But he probably heard me screaming about the pee. So then I'm screaming about this pee. She gets the door open because she's like all stunned that she's never heard me scream like this because I've never ever screamed like this. It was like one of those scenes. So
The disaster.
this is just all to say that everyone's life is a mess, including
This
mine.
this
And
is
this kind of
motherhood,
stuff
man.
happens.
Yeah.
And Brooke walked through the pee.
Oh my
And so then
gosh.
everyone had to get washed and all the stuff. And then
Probably still on your walls, huh?
yeah, it was on it was on a door. Like it was on the door that was in front of the downstairs closet door. And so I'm like baby wiping everything and just but the thing that was really funny was after this, Brooke is 3 now and she understands more than ever. And I said to her, all right, I understand we moved to this potty because Nanny and Poppy were here and you needed access to it, but now they're not here. We have to keep it in the bathroom. And she's like, we have to keep it in the bathroom. We have to close the door. And then he was crawling around later. Like she was actually in there going to the bathroom with the door open on her little potty. And he came in and he goes, he didn't say anything. He's a baby. He comes in the bathroom and she goes, you can't come in here. You can't touch the potty. Like new. So anyway, it just was.
This is why some people
Nice.
put locks on their toilets,
I
is
get it
that
now.
babies like can get that open and splash around in that. And
It makes sense. I'm learning, man.
I'm sure you're not the only person this has ever happened to.
And see, this is a first because we didn't have
Right. You didn't
obviously
have a potty
a
around.
tiny potty before because she was a baby.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's funny. Like the second is exposed to so much more and like life can be so much more difficult because of the things you have around from your first. Like I
yeah.
actually think now I'm having a baby with older kids and we have Legos everywhere.
Yeah. That's true. You had to be careful with that stuff.
Potty full of pee sitting around, but
Yeah, but the tiny little stuff, I've had to go through a lot of Brooke's toys and eliminate things or like take things away, like little jewelry. They have those little rings
yeah.
and the clip-on earrings and stuff, because that's something that he could choke on or try to swallow. So
Mhm.
it definitely is different when you have a second or a third and you have little older kids, because they have things that little kids can't have.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my
That's
my funny
hilarious.
story I wanted to share. And
It doesn't sound like it was very funny in the moment, but
it wasn't, but it also was, because Ben the entire time was laughing. Like there was not one point at which he was like, he just was like, what's going on? What's going on, mom? And just he was happy through the whole thing. And then literally as soon as it was over and everything was cleaned up, I was like, man, I was so dramatic for no reason. I just could have just been like, oh no, which is usually how I respond. So it was kind of weird that I responded like that,
Well,
because
there's
usually,
there's a aspect of parenthood where sometimes you're just like like shocked or taken off guard that your reaction is going to be whatever your reaction is going to be. Like
yeah, yeah,
this is what I find funny about, we both follow a lot of different parenting accounts that have tips on having, different kind of advice on more like gentle parenting stuff of, not making a big deal out of things or,
yeah.
not reacting in an emotional way. But we're humans and we have emotions, and sometimes our
It's true.
reactions be what our reaction is going to be.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. This was definitely an example of one of those times that I definitely overreacted, and yeah, didn't need to. But and then I think that brings us to maybe we should share the big announcement. What do you think?
Sure.
All right. So the big announcement is that we got a minivan.
Wow. Congratulations.
That's really not what it is. I'm just totally joking, but
But you
we
did get a
really
minivan.
we really did get a minivan. But we got a minivan because we are pregnant. And by
Yay.
we, I mean me. I
Wow. What a
mean,
shock.
Rachel's pregnant. Well, we already knew that, but now I'm also pregnant. This is the first time ever that you and I have been pregnant at the same time.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It's pretty
So,
crazy.
so two
Yeah.
babies coming. Rachel's due in May and I'm due in July.
Yeah.
So there'll be, a little bit of time between, but not much. This is going to be also the closest cousins that we've had yet, too. Your oldest and our brother's youngest are currently the closest in age. They're like 6 months apart,
Yeah.
right? Something like that. And now these babies are going to be like 2 months apart
Actually,
or less, a month and a half.
um, they're only 4 months apart, but
Okay.
ours could really be like two. Yeah, because if I go late, my baby really could be born like the 1st of June. So
There you go. They could be like 6 weeks apart.
yeah. Yeah.
So,
Although you
yeah.
haven't really gone early yet, right? Like you're pretty much
I've gone
not
one day early with Brooke and 2 days early with Ben.
yeah. So your due dates seem to be pretty close, but yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. We're looking forward to it, and we're not going to find out the gender of the baby until the baby comes. There's one person that knows. I don't know if it's official. I mean, he says it's 100%, but my chiropractor does this thing where he can tell by moving my ankles around and my like muscle tone or something if it's a boy or a girl. He
What?
says it's 100%. And
What?
so he actually did that today. And he says he knows the gender of the baby and he will not tell me.
I was about to ask you, I was like, can you tell me what he said if it's off air?
He wouldn't tell, he refused to tell me because he heard me tell the ladies that we're not going to find out. And the ladies were like, we want to know, do it, do it. And so we went and did it. And then he didn't even tell them because he didn't want them to give it away. He was going to tell them after I left. And they were going to write it down so that it was like proof after the baby is born that
That's
he didn't
funny.
just make it up.
I don't get how that could, like, the gender of the baby have anything to do with that.
Maybe we're weak when it's a girl and strong when it's a boy. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I should Google it and see.
This kind of sounds like the equivalent to me of, like, you know, when you take your hair and you tie it to your ring and you
No,
put it up
that is
your belly.
witchcraft.
But it just, I don't, I'll be very fascinated to hear if he was correct. I've never heard that before.
I've never heard of it either. I don't know why I wasn't offered this service the last time. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, I
I didn't go
saw
to him till
him
recently.
when I was at the beginning of my pregnancy and he didn't do this then. Was I not far enough along or something?
Maybe not, or maybe you just didn't ask him. Ask your chiropractor. Although you already know.
Yeah.
So did you
Yeah.
announce that on here already? I
I
mean,
haven't yet. No, I
are
haven't
you
yet.
gonna? Now that I'm putting you on the spot.
I mean, I just found out last week, so
Are
I
you
don't
gonna tell
know.
anybody?
Save that announcement for
All right,
next
save it.
week. You gotta wait to find out.
Stay tuned and you'll find out.
Yeah.
Maybe. And you got to stay tuned for like 7 months to find out what our
Oh
baby's going to be,
yeah.
or
Yeah.
try to get it out of my chiropractor. You should call there tomorrow and be like, "Hey,
What did you say? He won't tell me.
it's Rebecca's sister. I really want to know. Will you tell me?" Yeah, he probably won't tell you. He's going to keep it tight.
I think it is it's fun for you, like, to wait. Like, you already have a boy and a girl, like, it's not like any kind of like suspenseful thing, you know, it's like a tiebreaker. So I'm kind of excited about like finding out once you have the baby. Like, wow.
Yeah. It's kind of like, all right, let's see what happens. And I think that's, I don't know, I've seen some people's reactions when they find out when the baby's born, and it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
So,
Although I do think I've seen reaction videos of like people who have like 5 boys have the baby and it's a girl, and like their reaction like right after they have the baby is like those are always really sweet too.
oh yeah. Yeah. That's true. That's true. I mean, I commend people that don't
Yeah.
ever find out. That's
Yeah.
cool.
The
You know, like
old-fashioned way.
the old good old fashioned way, you know, and that's the way. I mean, it's the
Yeah.
way God intended, right? We'll
Yeah.
find out with this newfangled technologies that we have that
Yeah, that
allow
we
us to
can
find out
peep
through blood
inside
tests
there.
or
Yeah.
yeah, or looking.
Mhm.
So it's cool, but yeah, we're gonna wait and find out. We're working on names still. Either way, not the same name. Although there's a lot of names that you could go either way. Maybe that's the way to go.
Oh, yeah. A lot of the names I like are, what do you call it? When it could be for a boy or a girl, gender neutral.
Gender neutral. Yeah. A lot of names, like even Sawyer, girl or boy, Peyton, girl or boy.
Technically Everett, apparently.
Everett. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't met a girl named Everett, but
You will soon. So anyway, I hope that this has been a fun episode of the realness of real life.
yeah.
Thank you guys for being on this journey with us. As a reminder, if you'd like to follow along outside the podcast, you can join the mission on Instagram at The Radiant Mission or on Facebook at The Radiant Mission Podcast. And if you want to follow Rachel, you can follow her at Rachel Smith. But don't be a creep. She's on the verge of private again.
Yeah, I'm about to go private again.
And if you would like to watch the podcast in video format, you can find it on YouTube. And today we're going to close with Matthew 6:34. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Yeah. We are wishing you a radiant week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.